Eric, right off the bat, man, we got to ask you. The three of us had discussed this, and I think all three of us were in the same wheelhouse on who we thought was going to win the Raiders job. They go with Gardner Minshew. Eric, thoughts on Gardner Minshew taking the starting job over AOC?
Yeah, I think all three of us were in Costa Mesa at the same time to watch the Raiders practice, and we got an up-close view of Aiden O'Connell and Minshew. Got a chance to talk to Tom Telesco, former GM with the Chargers, now with the Raiders. I kind of always thought it was going to be Gardner just because of the amount of money that they paid him. 2 years, $25 million, $15 million guaranteed. Knowing Telesco a little bit in his history with the Chargers, they never want that kind of money to be sitting on the sidelines. They want their money on the field. And if all things were equal and really out of those two guys, nobody really grabbed the job when you watch them both in practice and in preseason games. And so why not go with the guy that has a little bit more experience, that's making more money, and see how he does out the gate. There's a lot of, stress on winning games early, which makes sense because Antonio Pierce is just a year off of removing the interim tag. So he's obviously wants to win games to keep his job, really. And so it makes sense to go with the more experienced guy. This is an organization, a team that turned the ball over 24 times last year. So a guy that can maybe help limit turnovers, I think will be important. He's got a little swag to him. He's got a little Jim McMahon to him, with the headband and kind of the moxie, I guess, is one word that Telesco used to describe him. And so, he kind of just looks like a Raider. When you watch him out there on the field, he kind of fits that franchise and kind of their culture. And so I'm interested to see how he does, but I also understand that it's probably going to be short leash. If they start off 1-3, 2-4, I would expect Aiden to be in there at some point because, again, they expect to win games. And also watch that interaction with Adams, what that is like on a weekly basis, because I do think that's going to impact, who's in the game.
Yeah, Eric, I was thinking that, who's going to make Davante Adams happy, at least through the trading deadline where, hey, you're pushing the ball down the field, you're giving me opportunity. It might not be the best pass, but give me an opportunity to make a play. And I feel like Minshew does that with his backyard style, throwing the ball down the field. I feel like with AOC, yeah, there's some upside you haven't seen, but how high is that upside? It doesn't feel like it's too high. Obviously, he's on a first-round pick. But from the start, I felt like Pierce wanted AOC because he kind of got him the job, which ironically, those couple wins with the Chiefs and the Chargers knocked him out of the top 10 pick to get a quarterback. So AOC helped himself there. But like what you said earlier, Eric, I thought maybe it felt like a fair shake for both guys. If Tom's guy is Minshew and AOC is Pierce's guy, go earn the job. Nobody did. So now Double T there is like, hey, AP, can I vouch for my guy? Do you have an open ear here? And I think that's what it felt like. So I don't know what you guys felt, or Fernando, you want to give your thoughts here, but it just seemed like at the end of the day, it's like Tom Telesco who paid him that money. And for now, to your credit, you did bring him to the point that, yeah, maybe he never worked with Minshew, but Minshew worked with Shane Steichen, who Shane Steichen worked with the Chargers for many years.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what my point was, is that obviously bringing in Minshew was going to be competition for AOC, and you can't just give him the job. But I really think that I'm sort of wondering how short let's just say, because obviously Gardner right away is going to get Jesse Minter's scheme. Nobody knows what this scheme's going to look like because it's been in college, but you don't know what it's going to look like in the NFL. So Eric, my question to you my question to you is, let's just say Gardner first in the first half throws 2 picks and the Chargers are kind of up. What do you think? Do you think that's how short the leash is?
Wow.
Or do you feel like it's games, like you said, 1-3, something like that? Or do you feel like right away, 2 interceptions deep, Chargers are up, like, let's just say 21-0 going into half? Is that when he pulls the trigger and says, you know what, let's try something else? And because obviously it's going to depend on how tight what's his name? Antonio Pierce feels it, how hot it gets in there. But how do you feel like how short do you think that leash is?
Yeah, I I expect it to be a four games. You know, he talked about addressing this first quarter of the season and that they needed to start fast during the first quarter of the season. And I feel like you can't manage a quarterback game by game, that you have to give him a little bit of room for error to make some mistakes so he can go out there and play free and not feel like he's going to be, you know, it's do or die on every throw that he makes. You know, so if he does make a bad play or makes an interception, he's got to have the ability to kind of shake it off and get out there and continue to play, you know, like a gunslinger, or at least, you know, be able to throw it in there and kind of live with the results for a couple games. And so I don't think it's going to be, you know, play a bad half and you're out. I could be wrong, but I would imagine he's going to give him, you know, 3-4 game, you know, run out and then address, evaluate, kind of see where you're at.
Gilbert, can I say just two things real fast? One, I love how former players are the ones that divided up into quarter, like the first 4 games, the next 4, like Anthony Lynn used to do that a lot. I've heard Dan Campbell say that, like the season's divided into quarters. So I love that. But going back to Gilbert's point and to yours too, Eric, he was basically begging, like every press conference that somebody would ask him, hey, Aiden O'Connell and Minshew, and he'd be like, somebody needs to take this job and say, hey, this is my job. I'm going to take it. That's not what it felt like happened. It didn't feel like somebody just took the job. It felt like they went with who's going to give us the least problems and who can help us win. And I mean, let's be fair. Gardner was 1/4 down away from possibly winning the division for his team, for the Colts last year, and knocking out Houston. So, I think Gardner kind of gives him a better opportunity. Like we said, though, we don't know how he's going to be able to do on this team, but I feel like Gardner kind of gives them a better chance over AOC. Now, my only question is, Gardner has been a backup in years past where he doesn't start off the season. He's the guy that comes in later. How is that going to be for AOC now, being a backup after the season that he had last year? He probably thought, you know what? I probably deserve to be the guy. He's not the guy. And now he has to come in and be a backup. So I wonder how all that's going to go.
Yeah. I wonder, you know, let's end this here and just think about this. I just thought about it, Eric, and sorry if I cut you off. But,
No.
You know, Gardner Minshew did not have that strong of a defense last year with the Colts. And they were okay. They weren't the best, but they still won 8-9 games.
Shots at Gus Bradley.
I'm sorry. But the Raiders feel like they have a better defense. And I'm blanking on the DC's name. Oh, Patrick Graham. It feels like they might have a top 10 defense. So maybe they just saw what happened last year. You know, you kind of just do simple math. 8-9 wins with that defense. With our defense, maybe it's 10. You make the playoffs. I don't know if you guys buy that kind of math there, Eric and Fernando.
Oh, I think they're going to play similar to how Pete Carroll played with Seattle when Russell Wilson was a quarterback his first 2 years. And, you know, really lean on your defense, run the football with Zamir White, and get in those 2 tight end sets and do some play action off of that and take some shots when you can take shots. But really, you're trying to manage the game. You're trying to keep away from, you know, the more potent offense, you know, that you're going to be facing. You know, whether it's, you know, potentially the Chargers, although they haven't looked so potent when you've watched them in the preseason. Obviously, the Ravens is their second game that they'll have to deal with on the road. And then I think they have Cleveland, and I can't remember what their 4th game is. So yeah, just you know, game management, you know, is what you're expecting from Minshew. And then when there's plays to be made, you know, make those plays, you know, create some chunk plays, you know, with Adams and with you know, Brock Bowers as well.
It's at Chargers, at Ravens, Panthers go there, and then Browns come there. So that's how that is going to start off.